Alright, so we are going to start our next part of the lab, which is lab 1C. Now in this part we'll be still playing around with these three number system, so we'll try to convert from hexadecimal to decimal. Okay, that means in every question you'll be given a hexadecimal number and you have to convert that number back to decimal. Okay, now let's look at an example so that we understand how to do this. Now remember again, since this is a hex is a 16 base number system, every position has a weight just like the decimal and binary, but right now all the weights will be in term of 16, right? Remember in the decimal the weights were like what, 10 to the power 0, 10 to the power 1, 10 square, 10 cube. In the binary the weights were 2 to the power 0, 2 to the power 1, 2 square. Similarly in hex the weights are all in terms of 16. 16 to the power 0, which is just 1, 16 to the power 1, which is 16, 16 is squared, which is 256, and 16 cube, which is 4096. It will be just like that, right? Next one would be 16 to the power 4, so you know the weights of the position. Now let's say if you are given a hexadecimal number like this. So we are given a hexadecimal number 1A2F, and we have to convert this number to decimal. How do we convert it? It's actually very simple. What we do is we have 4 digits in the number, right? So we are writing 4 weights here, starting from 1. So the first weight is 1, right? I'm getting actually the weight from here, right? So this is that's how I should be writing my weight. So that's my 1, and then 16. So every time you will actually multiply the previous weight by 16. So once you multiply 1 by 16, you get 16. Then you again multiply 16 by 16, you get 256. You multiply it 16 times 256, you get 4096. So you pretty much know the weights. And then write all the digits. We have actually 4 digits in the number, right? 1A, 2F. I wrote all the digits. The next step would be I'll be actually multiplying the digit times the weight. So for an example, F is what? 15, right? F means 15, right? Look at the chart. F means what? 15, right? So what we are doing is we are just multiplying F times 1, which is 15 times 1. Now here we are multiplying 2 times 16. Every time we are just multiplying the weights times the digit. Now here A is what? 10, right? In decimal. If you look at the chart, you will know it. See? What is A? 10. So I just multiply 256 times A, which is here, meaning 10 times 256, and then 4096 times 1. So basically all I'm doing is just multiplying the weights and the digit, and then adding all up. Once you do it, you will get a big number, which is 6703, which is the equivalent decimal of that hexadecimal given to you. Okay. So let's go to the next part of the lab, which is lab 1C, and let's try first couple of questions where you are given a hexadecimal number in every question and you have to find the decimal equivalent. Okay, make sure once you put your answer, make sure you click save so that the answer is saved. In case your computer, you have to restart it, all the answers will remain saved. Okay, you don't have to do those again. Let me give a pause here so that you can try these conversions, and then we'll get back to the next one once we are done. All right, so let's try our next conversion here, which is from decimal to hex. So that means in these questions you'll be given a decimal number and you have to convert this number to hex. Okay. So let's see how we do it. Now this step is pretty similar. Remember at some point we learned how to convert from decimal to binary, and there were 2 different methods. There was a method 2 where we keep dividing by 2. Remember last class? So this will be a pretty similar method. So that's why actually we talked about that method 2, which is which will help us right now to understand this process. So let's say we have a decimal number which is 242, and we are trying to convert this number to hex. okay? And we'll try this by repetitive division, which is also called reverse division. Let's try this. Now remember, in the binary, from decimal to binary, we pretty much did the same thing, but we keep dividing it by 2, right? Remember, we kept dividing it. Now we'll keep dividing it by 16 because the hexadecimal number system is a 16-based number system. So we'll start with 16. Now, again, we'll divide just like a third grader. So you cannot get a fraction, right? So, but you will end up having a quotient, which is actually the answer of the division, and you will also have a remainder, right? Even if you don't have a remainder, then your remainder is actually 0, right? So let's start. So the first one is you will be dividing 24 by 16. How do you divide? Just like a third grader. So you are trying to divide 242 by 16, right? 16 times 1 is 16, then 82, 5 times 16 is 80. So your quotient is going to be 15, right? So that's your quotient. And this is your remainder, right? You cannot do this division in calculator because the calculator gives you the fraction, right? So you write your quotient. So where do you write your quotient? You write your quotient on the same line. You write your remainder at the top, right? Just like how we did the decimal to hexadecimal conversion. Now, the decimal number we are trying to divide is 242, and the base is 16 because we are trying to convert it to hex. Once we divide it, this is what we got, right? We got the quotient, which is 15. We wrote it at the bottom. We got the remainder. We write the remainder at the top, right? We got 2 as a remainder. Now remember, we'll keep dividing until we get a 0. Now this time we have to divide 15, right? You have 15 to divide by 16. Now this is the tricky part. You cannot actually divide 15 by 16 because, again, as I said, you cannot get a fraction, right? Because 15 is already less than 16. So what happens is, if you try to divide something which is lesser, then what happens? You actually will end up having a 0. So basically 0 is your quotient, and the 15 is your remainder right now. But we are writing the remainder in hex. What is 15 in hex? F, right? So that's why you see here, this is my quotient this time, this is my remainder. Because you tried to divide 15 by 16 and you could not divide it. So your answer is 0, and the 15 itself is the remainder because you could not divide. But you wrote 15 in hex, which is F. So we'll stop at this point because our last quotient is 0, right? We keep dividing until we get a quotient of 0. So now we have a quotient 0. So we'll stop here, and our answer is actually F2. So the F2 is the equivalent hexadecimal number we were looking for. So basically the F2 is equivalent to 242 in decimal. Right? So let's go back to lab 1C, and let's try the remaining question. So you will actually get a hexadecimal number for each decimal number you are given in each question. Let's complete all the questions that we have and then submit lab 1C. Again, just like any other quiz, you can try it again and again if you don't get 100%. Okay? Make sure you save your answer. Every time you enter something, click save. Let me give a pause here so that you can try and complete all the questions that you have in 1C. All right, so I hope we are done with 1C, right? All right, so let me go to the next step so that we can try our next conversions, okay?